I think it looks pretty good. That was up there pretty
Yeah, it's definitely one that I've
Safety issues.
see. Top gun though, I cut my teeth on Top Gun. I was in the Navy, 5 years when they came out? That's the best recruiting film ever. History of the planet.
I've seen it enough times now.
Yeah, it is dated a little bit now. When it came out, that was there'd never been cinematography like that.
It's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I did. And again, twice last week. I watched it last week before the movie, and then Ashley said, "Well, I don't know if it's new. I want to see the old one."
I don't know if
There's a lot of people there at the show.
It's worth saying. That's for the fun of it. It's stupid. You know, the scenario was stupid and everything. I love watching the show. It's my calling, I guess. It's a lot more exciting than something.
Like simulator.
Got a new computer coming here. So, yeah, my plan is that Starfield, when it comes out, I buy Starfield with a new computer, so I can put all the sliders to the right. I don't do gaming consoles. Yeah. You got yourself? Warming up a bit now.
The buses, the rail, and that's okay.
Well, what? And I was separate application process.
No, that's the population.
I'm not sure my heart, but y'all got
Broadband area, roads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, and it doesn't really hurt you.
Sure.
They're gonna be here. I won't mind.
That's all right. I'm in different folder.
I brought myself.
I got an 8-year-old. I get a regular.
You got what?
It's an 8-year-old.
Oh.
I'm going to check.
You've been doing an awesome job, and I do appreciate it. And you keep it going.
Hey, John.
She's not always
I'll make an announcement before we start. If anybody wants to speak, we have 2 public hearings. So the first one's on the fiscal budget. The other one's on the language of the transportation plan. For the 2018 Grayson County Comprehensive Plan. So if anybody intends on speaking, please sign up on the sheet outside. Yeah. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I've been informed that the clock on the wall is a little bit slow. according to the internet, it's 6 P.M. So we'll go ahead and get started. Mr. Smith, would you mind leading us with the invocation? Please, allegiance.
All thanks for the day that's been given, for all that's been accomplished. We pray that you'll be with us in this meeting tonight. We got our board of supervisors, that conduct the county business. Thank you for all the citizens that have shown up. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, maybe see. Would like to remind everyone of the quorum, which the board recognizes, and that meeting rules shall be consistent with the behavior exercised in any court or legislative room found within the Commonwealth of Virginia. And those are located on the bottom of the back page of your agenda, if you have a copy of the agenda. Also, gentlemen, everyone's had an opportunity to, with the board package, to review the agenda and consent agenda. There is one item that needs to be amended to the agenda, and that is the MOU that is listed there, the mutual assistance agreement with Allegheny County Sheriff's Office. Per the sheriff, he and county attorney are still working on the language and that, and so that won't be ready for be presented until next meeting. Yes, we'll need to table that one item, and with that under consideration, the board would, or the chair would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda, consent agenda with the change of tabling the mutual assistance agreement with Allegheny County.
Okay, motion before the board. Second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, Mr. Anderson? Aye. Mr. Fan?
Aye.
Mr. Ivy?
Aye.
Mr. Belton? Aye. I also aye. Yeah, we're pretty close to 5 minutes after. As I did state just before the start of the meeting, we do have 2 items to be considered under public hearing tonight. First being the to receive public comment regarding the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2022-23, and also a public hearing to receive public comment to hear language updates to the transportation plan of the 2018 Grayson County Comprehensive Plan. And if there is anyone that has not had the opportunity to sign up, I'd ask that you do that this time. Chair would also, at this time, entertain a motion to go into public hearing to receive comments regarding the proposed budget. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Discussion. Okay, hearing no discussion. Mr. Anderson? Aye. Mr. Fan? Aye. Mr. Ivy?
Aye.
Mr. Belton? Aye. I also aye. Okay, now public hearing. And I think Mr. Smith will bring in the thank you, sir. Okay. Would ask that when you come up to speak, to try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And just state your name and your address. And first one I have on the list is Pam Carter.
Members shall ethically serve the public interest by making decisions. Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Pam Carpenter. My address is 341 South Independence Avenue, 24348. Members shall ethically serve the public interest by making decisions and taking action which will enhance the public health, safety, and welfare of the region and the citizens served by the Grayson County Board of Supervisors, and by promoting public confidence in the integrity, independence, ability, and impartiality of the Board of Supervisors. I'm reading there from the Grayson County Board of Supervisors Code of Ethics. When this board approves a budget and capital improvements in excess of $1.5 million for the Recreation Department, while ignoring an expert feasibility study that clearly demonstrates the need for 5 additional deputies for our sheriff's office, I don't feel at all confident that this board is honoring its commitment to the citizens of this county or adhering to its own code of ethics. The town of Independence covers 2.35 square miles. According to their website, the police department has 6 officers to cover that 2.35 square miles. Also, according to their website, they are not available after normal business hours or on weekends, and our sheriff's office is responsible for answering all calls that may otherwise be made to the town of Independence. Grayson County, on the other hand, covers roughly 451 square miles. The Grayson County Sheriff's Office has 12 patrol deputies that cover that area, as well as covering calls for the town of Independence during nights and weekends. Essentially, that means that we are expecting our sheriff's office to cover an area 200 times larger with only a dozen law enforcement officers. It's an unrealistic expectation for the officers, and it's a potentially deadly situation for our citizens. You've heard from experts that our sheriff's office needs 5 additional deputies to be adequately staffed. Not well-staffed, adequately staffed. You've heard from citizens that we want priority placed on public safety in terms of both law enforcement and EMS. Yet this board appears to be prioritizing public pools over public safety. That's not okay. The rec department seems to be getting their entire budget request fulfilled, including $233,000 for repairs on a swimming pool that is currently open and making money. And with that same amount of money, we could fund the salaries of 5 deputies at $37,000 a year each, with nearly enough money left to purchase an outfitted patrol vehicle. Yet we heard in the last meeting that the sheriff's office is only getting approved for 1 new deputy, and only 1 advanced life support person was allocated for emergency services. In my opinion, this is utterly ridiculous. This is yet another example of this board poorly utilizing resources and prioritizing based on their desires, rather than making the needs of the citizens a first priority. Meanwhile, we have a sitting board member using county resources and county-issued devices to threaten a citizen. When did this type of behavior become acceptable with this board? According to the Code of Ethics for the Grayson County Board of Supervisors, members shall uphold the prestige of this office and avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. When we have board members and their children lashing out against citizens who oppose their personal agendas and participate in government, that's not okay. When we have board members who state, "I'd be good with 0," in response to knowing the citizens of the county need advanced life support personnel, that's not okay. When we have board members pushing initiatives for tourism because they have family members who need their vacation rentals to do better, while the taxpayers are footing the bill of marketing efforts for privately owned real estate, that's not okay. It's really looking like we have a worm in the Grayson County barrel of apples. That single worm is going to poison the whole cart, and it's not okay. We are asking this board to fully fund the recommendation for the Grayson County Sheriff's Office at 5 deputies and any gear they require to protect and serve our citizens. We are further asking this board to allocate for the 3 necessary advanced life support personnel to serve the citizens of this county. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
The next one is Ann Rose.
Ann Rose, 15 Discovery Lane, Independence, taxpayer, personal property, and real estate. I'm glad to see that the personal property refund is coming. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that myself. I'm mainly concerned about, like Pam, emergency management services and the advanced life-saving services. I request them all to be fully funded, including the sheriff's office also. At the beginning of the budget season, public safety was mentioned as one of the top 4 priorities from the board. Parks and Recreation was not. Ms. Hash, you are the EMS director, right? Oh, it was on the website. Or it has your profile, your picture, and it shows,
I'm on 911 commission.
I do have that.
I'm a member of that, but no, I'm not.
I have, on the website, it has Hash, EMS Director, County 911. Mr. Belton, I have EMS Director. All right, it must be the old county website then. Okay, Mr. Ivy, I have Galax Grayson Ambulance Service.
I'm on that board.
All right, so that one's good. Mr. Anderson, I have Emergency Services Commission. That's correct. All right, so this Emergency Service Commission is relatively new. It started with no budget. It didn't exist several years ago. But I hear it's getting a good budget this year. And there's a Paul Hoyle, who's the coordinator. Is that correct, Paul Hoyle? So things are looking positive in that direction. Once again, EMS asked for 3 advanced life support staff. The board approved 1. EMS asked for 2 vehicles. The board supported 1. EMS asked for an ambulance and a fire truck. The board supported both. EMS needed a minimum of 3 people and requested 2 vehicles to support the county rescue departments, and they only got 1 of each. The $83,000, which is an average amount that we pay Galax Grayson EMS would almost pay the salary of 2 requested advanced life support staff. The census data in our county is roughly 15,359 people in 2021. And 25% of our citizens are over 65. So that's roughly 3,039 people over the age of 65. And this was April from the Grayson County Emergency Services. If you lived in Baywood, there was a do not resuscitate, a DNR, do not respond of 43% if you lived in Baywood from emergency services. If you lived in Elk Creek in April, there was a 63% do not resuscitate, do not respond in Elk Creek, 63%. In Freeze, do not respond, there was a 49% do not respond rate. And all the other ones like Grayson, Independence, they were very good for their do not respond rates. Even Rugby and Suffolk in April. Mount Rogers, 29% did not respond. And I think the last one is Starkville. They had a good response. So all in all, overall, of all those places that I mentioned, the total DNRs were 21%. I personally live in Elk Creek, which was the highest, for 63% do not respond rate. March, do not respond. Baywood, 29% did not respond. Sorry, did not respond in Elk Creek, 54%. Did not respond in Freeze, 23%. And of course, the other ones were relatively good, 4%. Independence, Mount Rogers was great. Rugby, 0.08%. Troutdale was great. So the total synopsis for March for the Grayson County Emergency Service was did not respond 16% of the time. Once again, I live in Elk Creek, and mine was 54% of the time there was a do not respond. So to me, that's worrisome because I live there. I'm also a cardiac patient, so I worry about that. I mean, do I just get in the car at night and just hope I make it to the hospital? Those things, you think about. And Sheriff's Department back in May, the Board of Supervisors meeting, Rick Arrington did the study and said we need to hire 5 new deputies. The board supported 1. Sheriff's deputies, I think there's 12 deputies for the Sheriff's Department they work 24/7, 451 square miles, like Pam said. And the Independence Police Department, and I believe Independence is incorporated, so it's different, right? Sheriff's Department and Police Department. Sheriff's deputies 12, Independence Police Department 6 patrol officers, not working after 5 and not working weekends. I guess I just kind of, shocked. And how do we promote volunteers so that Elk Creek has, some life support? The last county we lived in, they exempted you from personal property vehicle. They did that just, because they're volunteers. So I'm not sure exactly what the answer is in getting volunteers, but, something has to be done. Also, the board doubled the salary of the rec department to $70,000 that they hired in January, and now he wants an assistant for $38,000. Also, I use the pool when my grandkids are here, so I like the fact of the pool. I don't know exactly what the renovation is going to be, but if you are going to cut out the fact that they can bring food in anymore, I think that's a bad start. I mean, if you do have to do that because you want to sell your own food inside and make money, can you at least put extra picnic tables out front? I think the last time I was there was 1 picnic table, so that at least families could bring their kids over 3 minutes. At least so that they can eat outside instead of having to pay $2 or $3 for a soda, whatever it is. But I use a pool. I like the pool. So that's my thoughts. Public safety, that's what I want. And you said it was one of your top 4 priorities, not the rec department. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
So that's all the registered speakers we have for the public hearing for the budget. Board entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Mr. Henderson.
Aye.
Mr. Fan.
Aye.
Mr. Adams. Mr. Felton. Also. Next, on the agenda, have a public hearing to receive public comment to hear language updates to the transportation plan of the 2018 Grayson County Comprehensive Plan. So you want to get out with that? Okay. Are we voted noted?
Good evening. Tonight I come to you with the blessing from the Planning Commission. They approved the smart scale language for round 5 during a public hearing on May 17th. The additional language will be added to the transportation chapter of the comprehensive plan upon approval of tonight's board meeting. The language addition is required to show the locality's support as a requirement of the application package, in addition to the locality's resolution of support that's included in tonight's agenda in the upcoming new business. Good news is, as of Wednesday, June 1st, I was notified that the pre-application had been pre-screened in, so we're closer this time than we was 2 years ago, but we're awaiting the approval documents of the comprehensive plan chapter and tonight's resolution. I have received the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission's approval, so they have blessed that. Once those items are made available to me, I should be able to add those to the application. The final application is due August 1st. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So help me out here. So are we, what you're asking to add to the comprehensive plan is specifically believe, the smart scale project for Delhart Road.
Yes, sir. It is the turn lane improvements. And I can read you that proposed script. You want me to read that to you? Okay. So the application description, the proposed project extends the turn lanes at US 58 and 622 intersection to meet the minimum VDOT standards. The eastbound left, and westbound right lanes will be extended to provide storage and taper lengths of 200 foot each. The eastbound and westbound left turn lane will have the inside paved shoulder of 4 foot. The westbound right turn lane will have 8 foot paved shoulder, and the chevrons to delineate the area between the channelized right turn to the adjacent through lane.
And so we're adding, so it's really just a procedural step to add to the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
It's gotta be in the comprehensive plan for us to be able to submit it back. Is that
Yes, sir.
what that is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It came as a recommendation that from the VDOT district, that Bristol district, that they felt that the application should be resubmitted, and that it was probably, we've done another traffic study there, so that helped to encourage the pre-screening to get it passed. So hopefully we can see some improvements there. I do know as the crash data this year or early last year, there has been one fatality there.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I've got some questions about smart scale, but it's not specific to this project. So after we're done with the public hearing, could I ask you a question related to smart scale?
All right. Appears there's no registered speaker for the public hearing. This time we'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing. Second. Okay. Mr. Cash? Aye. Aye. Also aye. Okay, Nick.
Thank you.
So a couple weeks ago, when we were doing the 6-year plan review, there were folks, especially up Rocky Hollow Road, I think, and
Lost Lake.
Pleasant Grove,
And Lost Lake.
and Lost Lake, right? And smart scale was kicked around. There were some other things kicked around about trying how to improve those roads given the challenges. Recognize that this smart scale thing that we're doing is not that because it's this year. Could you, any update on that process?
As part of the recommendation from the board, I did do some research in regards to Rocky Hollow and Lost Lake, and have been in contact with VDOT, Ms. Heath, and I've been in contact via phone and through emails. She had originally suggested to the board at last meeting that the FLAP funding, and FLAP stands for Federal Lands Access Program. That funding, because it is adjoining federal lands, is through federal funding, so it's kind of a VDOT type application. However, staff and the board encourages them to submit applications to the FLAP program through support resolutions, letters, and that sort of thing. However, the funding source has been closed for this time and has not been determined how and what time it will reopen next year. However, that FLAP funding for this year had no match, and I was told by Ms. Heath, the next time that it opens up next year, we'll have an 18.5% county match. And we won't know what that match will be until engineering and those sort of things are done. So those are the two items that she suggested for Rocky Hollow and Lost Lake, because it meets that requirement of it adjoins federal lands.
Okay. So then on Pleasant Grove, which sounds like based on that, and it doesn't border federal land, that smart scale may be the way. So how do we start the process for the next year's application for smart scale?
It has
Or
enough.
does this one, if it doesn't get approved, does this one bump?
It potentially could. But then we will just go through the process of engineering, ensuring that we have enough information produced through the Bristol district. They are fantastic to work with. They get me the information that I need to produce the applications, and the engineering and traffic studies and such. So that process is every couple of years. So this is 24. We'll probably be into 26 before we ever get through that process to start, even to submit. And then I can't make any promises because it could potentially be screened out.
No, but it's an avenue to work.
It is.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any follow-up? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. And
Thanks, Jerry. Next, under reports, presentations, or requests, Ms. Candace Stevenson, Preserve Grayson. Did I pronounce the last name right?
Who has the presentation?
It should be on David.
Oh, I see, okay.
Is there one that was later?
I'd like to thank everybody, all of you and everybody, all the volunteers at Preserve Grayson for letting me come and speak today. If we could go to slide 2. There's a concern for safety and health in Grayson County. For example, in the 2018 Grayson County Community Health Assessment, there were concern over the Christmas tree pesticides and aerial spraying. You can play this. There's a play button.
This is a video you're trying to present, right?
Yep.
I noticed on our packets, we had 2 downloads. Maybe this is your presentation, it may be in another download. What the video clip?
This is it. It goes into another one after this.
Okay.
So
I
before
pulled
we
it up.
continue,
I can see it on my screen.
before we play this video, everyone who has reached out to the DEQ or local authorities, we're told these chemicals are safe, we're just not to worry about it. But the residents feel otherwise, and that we feel like there needs to be some testing to prove otherwise. In a pesticide training from 2002 from one of our retired extension agents, this is a slide that shows pesticide training. So while we don't feel it's safe, this shows that it's not safe. And this is like 2 minutes long, everybody can see what it says. He notes in here that cholinesterase levels, which are levels that are necessary for your nervous system to work properly. Highly toxic chemicals attack cholinesterase and lower the necessary level needed to live. Overexposure could kill you, and you should have your levels checked during the spray season if moderately or highly toxic chemicals are used much. So could you play this to show everybody what the pesticide training looks like? Yeah. The audio will come on next. this community deserves to know what is being sprayed on these trees. There's another slide right after this. There's a documentary that was made in Elk Creek. If we could play that, it was volume. Okay, that's why the second file that was in there had an actual working file. So if you go back to the original where this was found, there's another duplicate. Yes.
No, that's just a PowerPoint. Ma'am? That's just a PowerPoint.
It didn't play the video?
It's just a PowerPoint. No, it is not. It is not.
Okay, so go back to the one you were just in, because if the other video is played, it should play it. If you click on it, it should say.
That's just gonna be a picture. Sorry. It will not play.
It didn't play, but I had Linda check this to make sure it played before. Anyway, so we'll move on. This video it was one person's perspective of things that he's seen. And it came in a link from YouTube. So I don't know if you can pull up a play a video from YouTube.
Take a minute.
Okay, I'll give you YouTube. All right. So the video we're gonna try to bring up on YouTube and said, but there needs to be a ban on aerial spraying. There are no safe conditions to apply the pesticides with a helicopter. We have wind and microclimates here that change by the minute. People have seen these helicopters flying around in windy days, right? All through the day, there's no break. It seems like there's a push to get things done, but not a concern for how it's being done. Aside from the workers being exposed and nobody even knows if they're even properly protected, but this shows that we need to look into it. So aside from, you can go to the next slide.
Is it okay if we ask you a question while he's getting the video together?
Yes.
Or has he got it ready?
Oh, no.
Oh, he's getting the
I'm
link.
getting the link.
Okay. And you probably know way more about this, obviously, than I do or ever will. But I had heard that sometimes when they're spraying the pesticides and whatnot, that and they go to the local laundromat to wash their clothes, those things come out in the groundwater. Are you familiar? Is there anything to that, or we
Yeah,
don't have a local laundromat anymore in this town?
No.
But I know it's pretty popular in our neighboring county.
pesticide applicators, their clothing is considered, soil contaminated. It should be cleaned in the same facility that doesn't have regular laundry washed in it. And it should be done every day, but it doesn't seem to be the case, or nobody knows if that's happening. But a lot of folks have seen the migrant workers washing their laundry at the laundromat where everyone else washes their laundry. So the safety needs to be looked at. So Virginia is a right to farm state, but whose right to farm is it? Is it my right to farm organically? I have bees I can't keep. Or is it my neighbor's right to spray whatever he wants on his crops that I have to stay inside my house and can't even tend to my farm or risk my own health? Whose right to farm is it? I have a farm. I can't be outside tending to my farm when there's spray going on all around me. It's not safe for me or my animals. And it's not fair for anybody that lives in Grayson County, whether you don't farm or not. I mean, we should not all have to breathe this. Or even just the anxiety of knowing that it is going on right next door to us. There's no regulation for this. I say there's no regulation. There is, but there's one regulator for all of these counties. So if you could go to the next slide there. We need more regulators.
Gentlemen, so understand the issue, but is the current request specifically for aerial spraying, knowing that some farmers may, use ground-based application, or something? I mean, your slide said aerial spraying. Is that really what you're asking for, the immediate need or request?
The immediate request is to ban the aerial spraying. And furthermore, there needs to be regulation, testing done on the soil to check that these chemicals, specific chemicals, are not leaching into the water. We need to check the water for these chemicals. There are no testing done specifically for the chemicals. And every few years, they change the pesticide to, keep up with resistance. And so over 20 years or more, what is here? What is leached into our soil? What is in our water? What has changed this environment? We need to test for those chemicals. So there's not been one to my knowledge.
Do you have a sense of how widespread aerial spraying is in the county? I mean, I know where you live, you know where I live. There's aerial spraying that goes on over there, but I don't have a sense, like in the western end of the county, if they use it up there. Do you have a sense of the scale?
Yes, absolutely. There's several separate farms that are well over hundreds of acres, several throughout the county. And that is one, I don't know if you can see an overview. If we can play this video, you guys can see the scale. This is the bottom one. The very bottom one. The last three slides are part 1, 2, 3. Okay, so, the right to farm state, whose right is it? We request more regulators. Okay.
And the regulators are DEQ
Yes,
people.
yes. There's one person for way too many counties. And when they get phone calls, they tell us what they know and what they've been through, but they can't be there. They can't see what we're seeing. We're having to play sheriff around town and say, this is happening because there is no regulator to stop them from doing it. And there's nobody to check the damage right away, and these things wash away in days. There's no notification of what's being sprayed either.
So as the video's coming up, do you have a sense, right to farm, Dillon rule, all the challenges that we have at the local level of being able to do things, do you have a sense of what you think our authorities are in this regard?
I feel like it's over your all's head, but I feel like somebody has the power to put a law forth to change these laws that allow the things that are happening here, which I can't even get into in this meeting. It's so in depth. But there needs to be a law change, and if any of you can help with that, that's what needs to happen. The state of Virginia needs to change the law to protect us in Grayson County.
One of the things you have mentioned here is taxes. That would be part of legislation.
Yes, actually, there's another slide right after this. But it just says tax the Christmas trees. The laws have to change. Christmas trees are regulated as agriculture and not forestry. You can't eat Christmas trees. You can't. They're not an agricultural product by today's standards, but these laws were almost 100 years old. So we have an issue where they need to be taxed accordingly. The tax that we're paying right now is on our health. We are allowing a corporation to come in to a county where they don't live and just take over the property next door to all of our residences. It doesn't matter. And then they spray anything and everything. And if it's not up to us to be out there to catch them doing it and to tell them to stop, some people have caught them doing it. Whereas, it's just, there's a lot that needs to change in this county. It needs to not be able to let somebody who doesn't, like if I live on my farm and I farm on my farm, but if I farmed 40 miles away and I paid somebody to deal with that farm, I wouldn't know what was necessarily going on all the time. So I don't think it's right that we have all these hundreds and hundreds of acres of tree farms and in this county? What do the trees bring to this county? We would like to know. Okay, this video is ready to play. We're gonna play the documentary now, I think.
For the person that died was Doris Plum. Down the road. They had a garden right down at the foot of it, right? Same field. She was first and then it started there. And Christmas trees down there on the left. Called it Christmas tree hill, on Glendale Road. Lord, there's just so many. Johnny Dale, Mark's fault, his wife, up to them had it. Their garden was right out under the trees. Okay? The water washed down from the trees, where they spray it into her garden. She ended up having both breasts removed. Like mental suffering. He died with glioblastoma, brain cancer. See, there's no cure for it. They call it in the United States icy streets when they're spraying.
2.5 weeks ago, they were spraying these same trees with hazmat suits up here. And they end up in your home. And we don't know what these chemicals are.
I've heard, people talk, finding this dead and that dead. Friends of mine, dragging on it. I ended up here in Elm Creek, showing for the Independence, all that in there on the right, all the creeks there. They killed 50 rabbits a day. Some of them rabbits, they said, wasn't healthy. But I've seen the helicopters and the planes. That you stand for babies up here, treating everything for lights. They got it. What the father's saying, they get the water out of ponds and out the creeks, and they pump it out. Well, and then when they spray and it rains, the runoff goes into the creeks. You can go down through here, you will find men of nowhere in these creeks. Down and turn on rocks over, you won't find no crawfish.
Next. The next one. If there's a number after that that says tax the trees. Below that. Can we go past that? We go to the last one. Okay. So I just spoke about tax the trees. If you'll go to the last slide. We need to closely monitor the chemical dumping. Any industry, there's a waste management. You have a waste, you have a protocol to getting rid of it. We don't know what the protocol is for getting rid of the chemicals when they're done with these fields. How do they rinse their backpack sprayers out. We all see them all over the side of the road in the county, collecting water, cleaning their sprayers out, whatever they're doing. We don't know. There's nobody to figure that out. Somebody recently caught somebody dumping on Fox Creek, called the local emergency management. They came out there and told her there's nothing they could do. There's nothing they could do. She went as far as opening the door on the truck, asking them who they worked for and what they were dumping. They told her, is this your creek? And then no habla español and wouldn't speak to her. So she has no idea. We're our own authorities out here just trying to figure out if our environment is safe. Okay, there are 3 more videos. I don't know if we can get to those 3 videos. It would be the part 1, 2, and 3, just like the last one.
On the monitoring chemical dumping, I mean, do we not know what it is? I mean, surely DEQ has some sort of practice that's established, so the DEQ regulator doesn't have there's no.
Nobody can tell us what the process is for that. As far as we know, we have to document what's being sprayed, where it could be tested, and then submit a complaint to the EPA where they can come out and test for drift. The lady that reached out to the emergency management service, and they told her there's nothing they could do about what was dumped there. They told her they didn't see anything dumped. She told them she watched it being dumped. So it's a matter of who is going to take us seriously? Who is going to get to the bottom of this for us and tell us, okay, if there was a process, he should have told her, we have the process for this, or that. For chemical dumping, that shouldn't have occurred, but nothing was said. It's almost an intimidation tactic to the people that ask.
So, are we the largest Christmas tree producer in Virginia?
By far. Yeah.
Do you know where we rank as far as worst counties in Virginia?
I do not. I think Grayson County is the biggest producer in the state. And it's moving.
Yeah, because of the elevation.
Oh, okay. I don't know the
So
ranking on
my
that.
point is, we're number 1 in Virginia as far as production of Christmas trees, selling.
Yeah.
But as far as income, but as a whole for the community, I think we're in the top 5, maybe of worst counties. But quote me on that. There's a big disparity here.
Right.
And our folks don't have the means to fight back on these issues. Because it's gonna take a lot of, law changing or lawyers.
Right.
So what you're doing, I think is amazing. Not what I heard in Elk Creek back when I was campaigning over there, knocking on doors, that I talked to individuals who actually were sprayed, sitting on the porch, with clouds of spray come over. Talked to other individuals that's had to get filtration systems in their water because they're surrounded. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And I would just like to say that's for the ones that are privileged enough to get a filtration system or to care. A lot of people leave and go to work and they don't realize what's happening over the daytime while they're at work. Their pets could be outside, their farm animals are often outside. Our farm animals have nowhere to go. So thank you for caring about this. It's gonna be up to somebody, all of you all together, and everyone in this community to bring awareness to this issue and make a change.
Yeah, when we did the tax levy hearing a few weeks ago, second most talked about thing, one I think we led the way, was on Christmas trees. And it's been an issue for a long time. And you farm the way you farm, I farm the way I want my farm, but what you do should affect what I do, and vice versa. And kind of my view of the approach to agriculture is kind of the state farm, just be a good neighbor, that sort of thing. So we ought to figure out a way that everybody can be able to do the way they want to do and live the way they want to live, right? So we just started a health risk assessment, I think, with Mount Rogers last week. And Jim, you may have insight into this from the tri-area health side, but is there a way to assess, you brought up at the very beginning about cancer, the rates, and I've heard that from, I got no anecdotal, it's just reports that folks have told me. But is there any way to assess cancer rates in Grayson County compared to other rural areas? Is that something that can be determined?
On the Virginia Department of Health website, the brain tumor, the state of Virginia highest level of brain tumor rates is Galax, but we can't tell the data for Grayson County because it's suppressed.
What does that mean?
It means the information is not available publicly. But what information is available shows Galax is the highest rate of brain cancer. So there needs to be a study, cancer cluster study done. Preserve Grayson is actually working on an interactive map where people can go submit their story and location of where they live, et cetera. We also have shared the newest health study on our Facebook page that has almost 1,000 followers, so they can complete the health study for Grayson County. But Mount Rogers District, I called them today to find out what has been done since that study, since it was a priority. And they said that they reached out to the DEQ, and the DEQ, that's out of their realm, so the DEQ said that situation is being regulated. And so I'm just here to disagree that they can even regulate it.
So what regulate what?
But they just said that they shifted that over to the DEQ. The DEQ responded with saying that this is being regulated, the spraying.
The spraying is being regulated.
That was their response.
Well, I think most people that use those type of chemicals are probably responsible, most people. So it's bad actors is really the issue that's causing, I think, a lot of the concern. In addition to just sheer numbers that we have, my big concern is land conversion. We're converting a lot of arable land, productive land, formerly used for growing food, to your point, to something that you can't eat. And frankly, we value stuff we can't eat higher than we value stuff that we can. And you compare what somebody can rent their land to a Christmas tree grower for versus what the money you get for somebody who wants to rent it for food production. It's a no-brainer, if you're trying to figure out how to pay your real estate tax.
The farmers in this county have all had the same response, that it's hard for them to even lease land now because they are competing with this. There are less and less farms every year, ours included. We're either going to bring awareness to this and see if we can make a change, or we're gonna move out of Grayson County. And I'm not alone in that. There's several neighbors of ours, and other people that we know. So it's worth fighting for this county and health of the people that live here.
I guess the last night, Bill, it is, I think, a discussion worth having with Mount Rogers. I don't know who else to go to on that side, but it's probably also worth a discussion with the lawyer on what are our left and right limits, as far as, given that we're a right to farm state, and most of the pesticide regulations either at the Commonwealth or the federal level, so I don't know. And so we may not be able to do anything, but right now I don't think we even know what our authorities are, and what buttons that need to be pushed to continue to bring highlight to this issue. I would ask that of our administration.
And, one of the things that we were, remember we had a meeting with all the representatives that came over from Richmond, that talked to us and heard all we had probably 7 or 8 agencies in that room, would you say? And did anything come out of that, really? Not really.
No, they just told us how they're doing their job, but like Candace is saying, they cannot be where the violations are occurring. And if residents are observing that, then it's occurring. That is a witness.
Yeah.
You need to be believed.
I assume this is a conversation with DEQ, is that who you're talking about? Would they be maybe interested in coming and doing a presentation?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Kind of gives citizens the,
That's a great idea.
whatever alternatives they may have as far as reporting. And what kind of criteria these growers are having to meet. So that's in the having in office. One more.
Ma'am, you mentioned cancer is, what about dementia or Alzheimer's? Has that been in any discussion, especially in the Elk Creek area?
There's a person who, her husband leased their farm to Christmas trees, so he was happy because he said his trees don't jump out in the road. But, he passed away a few years ago and she has Parkinson's. And she's convinced that the Parkinson's is what has deteriorated, or the Christmas tree spraying is what deteriorated her health. But she's under a lease and she can't do anything about it.
Mr. Booth.
I've got the same deal in my house, surrounded with Christmas trees. I've tried to get a water sample before and after. And people that does water samples says it will cost you thousands if you try to test for everything. They've got to tell you what they're spraying. So that's what, when they spray, I'll test all our wells in the community and see if that, what they're spraying is coming into our wells. That's the only thing. She said if I tried to test for everything in the world, then I couldn't afford to test them.
Absolutely.
She said that was the way to go, right? Test the water after.
You have to know, even if it's a drip test, if they've oversprayed in a helicopter, you have to know what chemical they sprayed in order to test for that. Otherwise, there's no amount of money. And see, with the amount of red tape that it takes to go through just to prove that there has been an infraction, it would be alarming if we could actually prove all this stuff right on the site. It would be interesting if it doesn't go through your well water. What about the animals that drink? I mean, they spray in creeks that go right into farms where I've seen animals drinking at the same time.
I'll be testing the creek too, it runs through.
Yeah. We would like to know if there's any testing involved going on. We'd like to be in
I think, Mr. Shepley, we might want to reach out to our delegates and our state senators because they're the ones that can maybe help get something addressed.
Thank you.
Didn't y'all have a group that was doing some testing at one time?
Yeah, there was a water watchers group in the county for a while. It was focused, but frankly, all it really told you is E. coli, count and turbidity and, whether or not oxygen levels were okay, would support life. It didn't really test for, the chemical presence of anything. But it was still useful, to know that, but that's not your issue.
Right.
I think, in a way, what you're asking for the authority to do is almost create a community watch program that we have to fight crime. And in this case, if the crime is potential improper use or illegal use of chemicals or improper illegal disposal of chemicals, and then, the harm that is being done. I mean, we spent Deanna Hash down in Fairview, I don't know how many hours we spent talking, trying to resolve her issues with drift and plants being killed and all that stuff in her garden. And it's frustrating because I don't know that we've gotten anywhere, and she's under the same pressure with you that they may have to move because life is kind of hard to live.
I moved away from Maryland because the water for rock fishing, they told you don't eat the rockfish, it's full of PCBs, cancer. So I moved out of Maryland to the safest place I knew on a map, and I came to Grayson County, and I regret it. And I'm here years and years later with everything on hold to try to fight this. And we have two options: to figure out how to work together and live here safely. If Christmas trees have to be grown here, how can we do it safely?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for doing this, and thank you to all of you for bringing this up and trying as hard as we can to do something about it. One of the things that was really frustrating that we heard from our lawyers when we brought it up is that the county doesn't have any authority to do anything about it. The authority lies with each individual home, at each individual residence. There's no way that an individual residence can fight against a monstrously large entity that is primarily based in another state and taking advantage of our state to grow their Christmas trees. They're not even mostly they're in North Carolina, operating here. So that's a frustrating piece, and the legal counsel we've received so far is the only thing that could happen would be multiple citizens joining together to take legal action. But I think there's got to be more than that. There's got to be, if we have to, we need to just go to them as a group and sit down and demand answers to these questions. And I'd be glad to put something like that together, and we'll just go and sit with them and tell them what our problems are and demand some answers to
Please
us.
do. Any movement would be absolutely better than nothing. Some people can't speak for themselves on this. There was a person that came to the Preserve Grayson volunteer group and said they were complaining because they had, closed throats. They didn't feel good. They were stuck in their house when the spring was going on. That was in the fall of 2020. That person found out he had a brain tumor in May of 2020 and passed away in August. We're speaking for everybody else that can't speak for themselves anymore, and their family that's still here. You saw the pesticide slide that one of the poisoning side effects or your symptom is like a flu. How do we all know we're not getting sick with this? We need to prove it.
Yeah, this is a very complex issue because it brings in property rights, stuff that's above our head. And I would like to say that not all Christmas tree growers grow the same way.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of Christmas tree growers on the western end of the county that do it right.
Yes.
And to indict an entire industry, I think is probably the wrong way to go on this. But I think that the citizens have the right to know what's being sprayed near them.
We can't protect an industry. If there's one bad player, they need to hold him accountable. That's bad for all of them.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. And I'm coming from the side of, I work with farmers that do it right.
Yes.
I know who you're talking about. I know where it's happening. But there has to be something that we have to send out a notice if three of us are going to get together.
Right.
It seems like there should be a way that if you're going to be doing aerial application, that there has to be a notice to neighboring landowners. I don't know that we have the authority to do that, but I think it's certainly worthy of getting DEQ involved and seeing if we can address these concerns.
If you're a farm in Grayson County and you have bees, you can list your bee as an apiary, your apiary as a farm. And they should notify you when they're sprayed, but that doesn't happen. Everyone was listed and they sprayed and everyone lost bees several years ago now, but that would be great if we can have a log of what and when and be proven.
I think there's a big overestimation of what we're actually capable of doing
Right,
in
but
this county.
we can ask for a lot, but if there's anything that we can get out of this,
Well,
we'll be better off.
to the point of county administrator, a lot of these folks come to Grayson. There's a reason they come from North Carolina to Grayson. And it's the tax you talked about. They don't have to pay the tax over here that they pay over there. That was a draw to get, they got them here. But last year, the former governor enacted legislation allowing localities to tax cigarettes, to tax plastic bags. Why can't we enact that same legislation with this new governor? If we get the right people and allow your voice in Richmond, we may could see something.
Absolutely. And for the Christmas tree farmers that do it right, if they have to pay a tax, they could make more money if they advertise that they grow theirs sustainably, or they could separate themselves in a category where they can make more money just by doing it the right way. We need, but like I said, the tax on the trees right now is our help. And all the volunteers that are trying to do something and make a change. That's all I have. There are 3 more videos for the 3-part, but those won't play, and they'll be posted on our Facebook page.
Thank you so much. Are they titled in your presentation here so we could go look them up?
They're not titled, but it's the only 3-part documentary that the Grayson is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Nash, just so that we can reiterate the facts, our Grayson County Comprehensive Plan has us as number 1, and this is from the United States Department of Agriculture's 2012 statistics, and we are 13th in the United States. That data may change once we do an update.
I was never good at that.
Stacy Rivers, Grayson County Registrar. Election official update.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little short on. Maybe that'll work. I've got to do it now. Okay. Well, I guess what I have is good bad news. Bad good news. However you want to phrase that. Since we first suggested combining some of the polling locations back in February, that initial board meeting that we attended, all of our discussions, the meetings, public hearing, everything that's happened since, we are, and today I went back and I looked at how many folks we had in January 1st of this year, how many we had added and how many we had lost. We are exactly where we were January 1st of this year. We have gained 16, but we have lost 16. So we are in the same condition we were in at the start of the year. From the beginning, the reason we initially suggested combining some of the polling places, one of the biggest reasons is that we realized that we do have to change something in order to be able to provide voting for voters in Grayson County. In order to recruit our officers of election, try to add to the numbers that we have throughout this entire process and throughout the year, we try to recruit in several different ways. We've done word of mouth because, talking to somebody and explaining the need seems to always have the potential for positive results. You can answer questions and advise and whatnot. We've shared information with you as our board members, with our local party chairs, so that you can share as you're out in the community and different meetings and forums and what have you. That's what we need some folks for. We've shared with the town offices so that they can share info as they can, posted, shared their meetings and what have you. We've placed our recruitment posters on bulletin boards here in courthouse, and our board and my electoral members have taken and posted those at various buildings out in the county as these places would allow and permit, like the library and community buildings, that sort of thing. We have recruitment advertisements on the local cable TV and community bulletin board channel throughout the whole process. One of our officers of election does work closely with the local radio stations, and she has put together a PSA that's being aired on those radio stations, the local stations from Gaylines there. We've had different write-ups, and most recently we've had paid advertisements in both the Declaration and the Gazette. Our board secretary, Ms. Price, has posted that our need for officers on Facebook, and she's been doing that since before any of this started. I've been doing it for a very long time. Our recruitment info, along with our contact info, has been on the county website since before I became registrar, so however many years ago that started, I don't know. We've made all of our current officers aware of our recruitment efforts so that they can share the fact that we need some additional folks.
I shared with all of the Grayson County school principals, asking that they share with teachers and staff, and whomever they might come in contact as they deem appropriate. In the hope that all of these efforts would have some effect on folks, and, encourage some people to sign up. This past Tuesday, June 7th, we conducted an officer of election recruitment session, in the Wilson District, at the Grange Hall in Troutdale. We didn't have a single person that came out for that to sign up. We're conducting a second recruitment session this coming Monday, the 13th, at the firehouse here in town. So we'll see what happens with that. After all of this that we have been doing, I shared a copy of that proposed re-precincting map with you all, and I'm going to continue to do that because I do want you to keep that in mind. It's the same map that we shared with you after our initial presentation, a couple of options for redistricting. We haven't made any changes to it. That's not to say that it could not be tweaked, but it's to keep in your mind some possibilities. We do think that changes are going to have to be made. And realistically, we're at the point that some of our voters are in danger of a polling location not being able to open on election day. What that means is that unless those voters registered in that particular precinct have voted early, either by mail or in person, on election day, if that polling place is not open, they don't vote. The law doesn't allow them to go to another polling location and cast their vote. And we don't want to be in that position. We want to avoid that at all costs. Consequences of not being able to open a polling location, of course, will be severe, but if we can't staff it, we can't open it. So we are, like I said at the beginning, pretty much in the same position we were in at the start of the year. We've lost a lot of folks, and looking back at reasons that people have decided not to do it, not been able, I mean, it varies. A lot of them have just, they've done it for years and years and years, and their comments are just, I feel like I've done it long enough, so I'm not gonna reappoint this time. We've had some folks that, in particular this time, that had a death or two in the family, and they just want to step back from some things. Some folks have aging spouses that might need health care, and they can't be there all day, and we don't have the manpower to swap them out into half days, that sort of thing. So we're not in a good place with the election officials with that situation. In particular, Troutdale, we have no officers to work Troutdale at all. We could potentially pull folks from some other areas, but then we're shortchanging those other areas as well. So.
Are you gonna get to the good part at some point?
I'm sorry. Well, but we came 16, but then I wiped it out and we lost 16, so I'm sorry.
So what's the number that we need to fully staff all of the polls? What's the magic number?
There's not a magic number per se. It depends on the turnout. We want to try to have at least 6 people for each of these places. And we don't always need 6 people to be in there for a particular election, but we always have, it seems like last minute, somebody's broke their ankle, somebody's gotten sick, somebody had a health emergency. And we are, up until the day before the election, shifting people around and pulling somebody from this one to go to that one. Well, now we've lost them here, so we've got to. So we would like to be able to count on 6 people for each polling place at least, and more at Independence because that's our largest one. At least 8 or so at Independence would be ideal.
And how many total, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah. How many total poll workers does the county have registered right now?
Oh gosh, I think I didn't count that. I think we're in the 80s. We're lacking about 20 people to be able to hit that. And the majority of those are in Wilson District. Troutdale doesn't have anybody. I've got a couple of others that I have 1 or 2 people. I've already heard from some of the folks that we have signed up that they can't work the November election. Most of them, they're either not going to be here or it's a conflict with their job, so they can't work that day. And we do not want to have to. I mean, we're stretching it and switching people around as much as we can to avoid any kind of closure. But
And Ms. Rubis, there's 15 total polling places right now in the county.
there are, yeah.
So, and you've got 80 some workers in the county.
I didn't tally that up, so I'm thinking 80 something, I'm not 100% sure that I'm.
Well, to
right.
have 6 at every precinct, you only need 9.
Well, I may be wrong with that 80 then.
So I guess where we're trying to get is the people have spoken to us that they don't want to close any
And I
precincts.
understand that.
And you're saying we need to, and we're trying. We're all going out there talking to folks, and our election is not until November.
It's not until November.
But
So we
August
still
is
have
what you
time.
have said, is by August, if we could get some hard numbers, if we have 80 some and we need 90 to have
Well,
6.
now that 80 might not be right, that was, maybe I'm thinking what we would need rather
Would it
than what
be
we have.
possible for you to send us what those numbers, I know you sent us how many you need in
Initially, I can send you an update.
yeah, and I'll tell you where we are. But this, I really don't want to have to go back and say we're
I
closing precincts.
just want you all to understand that the shape that we're in, and if we do end up having to close the polling place on election day, you know that you're gonna hear about that, because nobody's gonna like it. So that, I don't want to withhold information, any possibilities from you, that's, unless we have a whole lot of people coming in, to step up and to do. If we don't gain more than what we have right now, and we've got nobody, and we can't move folks, without shorting somebody else, something has to go somewhere. I know nobody wants it to close, and I'm not saying that I necessarily want anything to close. But it's like any other business, if you don't have staff, you can't do business.
So my polling precinct, there's 3 or 4 people there every time, and it's Brown Creek. So I mean, you can get by
In
with
some
less.
elections, we don't need 6 people.
Right.
But we like to have the extras because it's every election we have, just about it, we're calling them alternates, and right now we've got no alternates.
Right.
So there's nobody, we hit it last election, if we had lost one more person, we would have been in trouble somewhere.
If we had, I was looking, 5 workers per poll, if we've got 15 polling places, that's 75 people. We thought we had 80.
Well,
We
like I
have
said
cap.
2 or 3 times, I didn't tell that, so I might be wrong.
Stacy got capped.
Well, yeah, central absentee, I'm not including those folks though, when I'm talking about them. Central absentee is a different setup and a whole different thing, so I'm not counting those people.
So one of the incentives that we talked about trying to encourage folks was to change the fees. Did you hit that?
We are, Lisa has upped our, like the line item for that pay. And we have put together some figures, the board is gonna meet on the 21st and talk about some dollar amounts. I put some things together and sent it out to them to review, so we don't have to even talk about that. But we are looking at some numbers for that, and that's what, when I talk to people, I've been telling them that the board, they're in agreement of trying to raise some pay, so we don't know what the number's gonna be, but,
Do you have a
tell them
ballpark?
that it will be more.
Yeah, right, it's 150 right now, right?
It is 150 for the regular workers, it's 200 for the precinct chiefs.
And that's for the day, so however long that day is.
Yeah, and then we pay them mileage for coming to train.
Right, but you're looking it up in both of those to some extent.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't want to speak out of turn, we looked at some numbers, but they just haven't met and made a call on what they would like to bring to you.
So we pay mileage to training. If someone in Freeze wanted to work at White Top, would they pay them mileage to go to White Top?
To go that far outside of the home, we, if they work inside their home precinct, we don't, if they go outside, we do.
And are you making it clear to folks that they can work outside their precinct?
Yes, we don't force anybody to stay in their home precinct.
So they can go wherever.
They can go where they want to go. When we plug it in, we plug them in their home precinct. And we do have several folks that tell us if they need to go somewhere else, they're willing to do that. We don't force anybody, so if we ask somebody, and they say no, we don't push it, but we don't stop them if they're agreeable to do it.
And you say you'd like to have 6, but all precincts don't require 6.
What we need to have for each precinct is precinct chief, 2 people for the poll books, 1 person for the scanner, and then if we have curbside voters, we've got to have at least 2 people that go in and out. So if you are in a place and you don't know this from one election to the next, how many curbside votes you might have, we don't want to leave the inside shortchanged with folks and have only 1 person going out, that kind of thing. If precinct chief,
we have them as a floater, they're not assigned to a specific station, so that whatever comes up, since they're running, they can handle issues as they arise. So that's where our 6 is coming up. Now, primaries, you all know what the turnouts are for primaries, so we don't need 6 people for primary. But for the high turnout November elections, we would like to have 6 so that the ones that are in there aren't stressed out all day from the load.
So in this, I'm sorry. The November election, what are we looking at as far as we have a congressman up as
Yeah,
what?
and then some
some
county
town-
races, and I don't think I have not heard anything about any constitutional amendment questions.
So in the town races, then they're gonna have each town, that's probably the only folks in that precinct that's gonna be voting on that ballot anyway. Correct? Troutdale has an election, folks in Troutdale are the only ones that'll be
They'll be
affected
the
by
only
that
ones voting on
election.
the town,
Right.
yeah, and then they'll vote on the representatives.
Okay, so it might be that if you've got the numbers, 85, 70, whatever,
Yeah, and I did not
you
tell
might
that.
not have 6 somewhere, but you might have 3 or 4 somewhere. It sounds like to me the numbers might be, based on what you're saying, might not be as dire, is that the word? Dire?
Close enough.
Well, when you have a
DIRE.
problem place that you don't have anybody to work, and you've got 2 or 3 nearby, that you don't have enough to work,
Right,
it's not a good situation.
but if you got one that's got several, maybe they'll go to that
And maybe
location.
they
We can offer some incentives, I know we've got that in our budget.
Well, and that's fine, we'll do that, that's fine, I just want you all to be aware that if we don't have people that are willing to travel, we don't have people to work, then we can't move forward.
But the goal really would be to have a bench, right? I mean,
Yes,
you want
we
to
need
hold it in
alternates,
so that
yeah.
people aren't working 16-hour days on that day. They're maybe doing shift work. So ultimately, more is better.
Or just having backup. I mean, everybody
Right.
has emergencies,
Right.
everybody has
Right.
things that happen, but when we've got nobody to call on to fill in.
Right.
And that's some of the reasons that some of the ones, the majority of the 16 that we've lost are people that chose not to reappoint. And that's, the majority of them, that's why. They feel like they have done their share and it's time for somebody else to step up. So they're being pushed.
Well, using John's
I just-
analogy,
yeah.
when I used to coach baseball, and we would pay a large sum of money to go play in a tournament somewhere, and 8 kids would show up. So we'd have to split the outfield. We'd have right center and left center, but no center fielder. That might be, sometimes you might have to make it work.
Well, we have been making it work for a very long time, and to be honest, a lot of our workers that have done it for a lot of years are tired of having to make it work. They really want somebody that's stepping up, or they don't want to do it. And I understand that voters don't want changes, but some of these officers of election, they have been so committed for so long, they deserve to be able to take a break, not have to work every single election, at least to be able to take bathroom breaks when they need to, or sit down and eat instead of eating while they're checking somebody in. So, they're your voters too.
Why would you turn off to the something we'll do?
You have at it, yeah. Maybe everybody will show up on Monday night at Independence.
That's it.
That was my question. What time is it Monday night?
It starts at 5, it's 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Yeah.
So everybody spread the word.
Yeah, and now that's just the recruitment. Anybody that, they don't have to come to that. We just wanted to offer some additional hours. I mean, they can come into the office anytime.
Where did you say that was?
It's at the firehouse. Yeah. And if they can't come in, I mean, we can mail them paperwork. They will have to do it face to face at some point, but they don't necessarily have to do it to sign up. So,
Is that the 13th?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Allen?
Just real quick, the reasoning for shutting down the Grant Grange Hall, where it's been the precinct forever, as you know, people don't like change.
Yeah, I've been made aware of that.
What were the reasons cited for closing down the Grant Grange Hall, other than to be on a main road with?
Well, one of the reasons we looked at that was if we do have to potentially combine, that's just a larger facility, it's a more updated facility, you've got a paved parking lot. Somebody comes in a wheelchair, they can't get by that little paved area, they've got a lot of paved area that they can work with.
So we're already planning that we are gonna close precincts when we're opening up the Grayson Highland School. That's the report that I'm getting from the West End. That's what they've been told is
They've been
it's,
talking, I say that's what I'm sorry.
it's a done deal. We're shutting down precincts and we need a better access place for them. And I'm sure that's not the narrative, but this is obviously an emotional
It is.
subject for
I really
people.
wish that if folks are sharing false information, that somebody would call and get it accurate. I'm sure you all deal with that too. It'd be nice if they came to a source to get the right information as opposed to sharing info that's not, you know. But I mean, the plain and simple fact is that the school is just a better, more modern, updated, ADA compliant facility.
Okay.
And it is on a main road, it's easier to get to. If something happened inside, you've got a covered area out back where we could actually move it out, you know, outside and have some space. It's just, it's nothing personal, it has nothing to do with how long it's been there or trying to upset anyone's balance.
Okay, thank you.
So to be clear, you didn't close, you moved.
We moved, we relocated, yes,
But I
From
think,
Grant Grange to the high
to
school.
the high school.
To Highland.
It's still the Grant precinct, and you're still voting, you're just voting at a different spot.
Anything else?
No, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Next, Mr. Larry Bolt, Commissioner Revenue, Personal Property Tax Update.
Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here at that last budget meeting on that May 26th, Thursday night. At around somewhere about 10 or 10:30, it was determined that I was asked to explore providing personal property tax relief with a goal of 34% and report back on June 9th. So here we explored and I reported back. I'm going to try to update you on what's happened since June 9th, or since May 26th. We started on Friday the 27th with communications with Edmunds, our software company, explaining to them what we're looking and trying to do. So that went from Friday into Monday and trying to get a hold of the right ones and get them to understand what we needed, and it was something totally new to them, which is totally new to everyone. By Wednesday, June 1st, Edmunds had understood the concept to create adjustments to the personal property tax bills with a one-time credit adjustment on the desired accounts. That's sort of the goal. Okay? To do this would be additional programming on their end. In other words, you don't have to write the software changes to do. There'd be a cost involved with that. And we got the bill on that, and it's $1,050. To tell you the truth, I sort of thought it'd probably be more than that, but anyway, $1,050 for Edmunds to do their work on their end to make this possible for us. On Friday, June the 3rd, Mr. Smith, Mr. Shapley, myself, and Mr. Hall, the treasurer, met in here to discuss how to move forward and what we found out and ideas and everything like that. By Tuesday of this week, the Edmunds bill was paid and they could start, they can officially start or whatever. Currently, they're reviewing our files and our data and looking at what we want to do and not do and how to do that. And they're getting their new programming going, and the next steps, which will hopefully occur next week, hopefully more towards the beginning of the week, but sometimes we never know with them. But anyway, after they get their new programming, we're going to be able to plug in a certain percentage on our desired accounts and figure out a certain percentage and then look at the end number to see what percentage gives us to match the surplus of unanticipated revenue, to what percentage goes with that, to do a one-time credit of giving that amount back. I should have said at the beginning, if you got any questions on ask as we go along, then that's certainly fine. The next meeting I think that you guys have is June 27th at the closeout meeting. And at that time, I think we would be at the point where we could have some exact numbers, and I could say, we do X percent, it's gonna be a credit of this much money. If it's a Y%, it's this much, Z% this much, and it would be for you all to approve to see how we go. As you know, there was a new law that was passed to allow states, or allow counties to do this, to return surplus or unanticipated revenue on personal property taxes. That law does not go into effect until July 1. So it's not that we're behind or anything, nothing can actually happen until July 1. If something gets approved at that closeout meeting, and we can, I don't think the turnaround is going to be all that long. Me doing my work, getting it to the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office can have it applied immediately to those bills in the computer. And if you have not paid your taxes, which, as we know, the deadline has been extended to September 2nd, and by the way, a lot of folks were very grateful for that. A lot of good remarks on that. So on the ones that they have not paid, it will show up as a credit on their account. And then when they get around to paying, it will have, they will pay a lower price. Lower dollar. For anyone that has already paid, it will show up as a credit on the account, and actually where they paid too much, and then those folks will get refunded with a check from the treasurer's office. And the treasurer has agreed to, once we have all this, to mail out new tax deeds with a letter of explanation on what's going on, and explaining that, here was, and the new bill would show the old bill with the exact same numbers as the old bill, then a line that says one-time credit minus however many dollars it turns out for that particular bill. Okay? I can go on. Or I can stop. One thing that a little bit to be made aware of, and this is a county attorney question, and there was an email from our county attorney back on May 23rd, which was before that obviously before the May 26th meeting, that to have some options for us to do. And, one was, we can't, books is already delivered, the treasurer, the bills are out there, we can't go back and change that. But he gave some suggestions what we could do. One suggestion was to extend the deadline, which we did. And I'm reading from his email, and you all have this, by the way. One resolution would be to postpone to September 2nd, what we turned out to that. And then his next sentence says that could buy you time to then adopt an ordinance that gives credit on everyone's tax bill who has not paid, or provide a refund to those who have already paid. So that's, to me, what we're doing. And according to what I'm reading, it sounds like it may need to be an ordinance. And I'm not, that's out of my realm as to what's the requirements on the ordinance.
But
We might need to figure.
yeah, but it sounds like that based on what you were able to provide us, the discussion on the 27th or whatever of June,
Right.
then Steve could do the ordinance based on what we agreed to then for possibly the July meeting, something like that. Does that sound?
Yeah, and does it have to be a public hearing on an ordinance?
Yes.
So, I mean, I know that comes into play on getting advertised and.
But we should be okay given when that meeting is in May versus when our meeting is in July as far as notice goes. But that seems to be the logic trail right there, right? Is that?
And I'm not sure the exact meeting date in July, but then, the second Thursday, whatever that is. But, you know, when all that happens, like I said, according to the treasurer, he sort of thinks it's the turnaround time. It might be, he's estimating maybe a week to 10 days. They send all their bills to a company to do the printing and mailing out. So there would be a.
But he's got time. I mean, if we adopt the ordinance in July, the things aren't due for another 2 months or 45 days. So,
Right, and technically I think they're supposed to have the bills out 2 weeks for the deadline, but I mean, my theory on all this needs to happen as soon as possible.
Sure.
And they're out 2 months before the due date, that's a good thing. Part of this, and this is, part of this is sort of determined, and that new law says surplus or unanticipated revenue. They passed all this, but they didn't really define what all the terms are. And I know maybe all of us individually knows what surplus means, but how does it apply to this? And it's sort of being left up to it's a gray area that the county sort of decide what is surplus and everything. I've got a little handout if you want me to.
Written in hand too.
Handwritten handout. I'm going to play the top down. So, top down. And yes, it's nice handwriting in my large. You can see it better. So, and first of all, so stay with me here for a second and actually look down at the bottom half. I probably should have put that first, but down at the bottom it talks about values. Okay? And you'll see a 2021 column and a 2022 column. And then you're going to see where it says 1, 2, and 5, auto, large trucks, motorcycles. That 1, 2, and 5 is just simply our class codes that distinguishes those. It's like it says 1, 2, 5 instead of not 1, 2, 3. Okay. Those were the values for year 2021, and then you can, if you just go across, for example, the autos, 110,558,981, and you can see at 2022 that value was 149,754,095. That should be increase in value of your cars and tickets. Okay, you see the total there. We're 121 million compared to 163. This is values now. When you take that difference turned out to be 41,782,158, and that was an increase of 34% in value. And that's where that magic number 34 originated from. The values from what was on the book for 2021 compared to 2022. That's where that started from. Will that be the percentage it works out? Yeah, I don't know yet. None of us. The top half is the tax dollars. So it's the same thing, those values converted to dollars. And the same way, obviously, the values are higher, the dollars are higher for each category. And when you look at the difference there, it became like 928,000. And then it's about a 96% collection rate. So, and that was when we were in a meeting in here one day, we sort of came up with a magic number of about 890,000. Now, I guess part of the question is that what we want to call surplus? And is that a goal to shoot for? What percentage gives us that? And for when we get the final numbers, we may be looking to compare that.
Cool.
That makes sense.
It works.
So when you come back in July, you're gonna have to give us some options, is that what I understood you to say?
I think when we come back in June
Or-
27th,
I'm
maybe,
sorry, yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll be, I might show you, okay, what did 34% do? What does 30% do? What does 40% do? And then I think it's gonna be ultimately up to you all to decide. And we can plug in and then we can plug in, we can make it work. And obviously, the higher the percentage, the more they get back. But, I mean, whatever it turns out, when I told everybody, you're going to be getting credit when we get back, it's going to be significant. You know, it's going to be, I mean, and I'm not talking about an old clunker here, but, you know, newer vehicle with the tax dollars up there, you're not going to be talking about $10 or $20 back. You're going to be talking about a significant amount, which I think that's what everybody wants to do.
So we had bounced around some discussion on the automobile fee at $25. If the board decided to go in that direction also, would that muddy your waters if that was to be refunded or included or?
I know that had been discussed a little bit at one time, but
It wouldn't
I don't
affect
think
these
any
numbers,
decision, yeah.
but would it affect your Edmonds or when the county, when the treasurer goes to do what he does, it would just be plug that in, I guess.
Now, are you asking, do you want to go ahead and do a credit or whatever on the license fee back?
That was, well, that was a discussion we had in the past, it hadn't got any legs
And
yet.
I don't think
Just
that does
hypothetical.
not fit the category of surplus or unanticipated revenue. Because we knew the revenue on that, the higher values, and the reason these three class codes are given, that's where the values went up.
But
They
that's,
go up on the other, so that would be where the surplus occurred. If you wanna do away with the license fee, I mean, I think that's a whole different discussion and doesn't.
well, it's not personal property tax, it's just a license fee. So it wouldn't be subject to the same terms that you're explaining.
The Board of Supervisors put the license fee on so many years ago. The Board of Supervisors potentially could take it off or they could move it on.
All right, that's.
And just roughly, that license fee brings in, Lisa, you can help me, but somewhere around $400,000.
Yeah, I think my recollection on that was that this upcoming budget, I think going forward, we did agree to that fee. That's my understanding.
We got rid of the fee for
Well, I made
next year.
It's in the budget.
Well.
I'll second that motion.
My understanding, I thought the discussion was about that, but we'll look at it on the 27th.
But
Yeah,
for
I
example, if that's something that
Yeah, right, it's
occurs,
up to us.
I mean, basically, I need to know about it before, like, next March or something.
Yeah, right.
So, if it's on there or not. Okay? Anything else?
Appreciate it, Larry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
Under old business, there is none. And at this point, we're gonna take us about a 10-minute break. We adjourn. In recess.
That's nice to Okay, where do you? We heard it was
Have,
I'm in Paris and PAR.
That is probably the same.
That you'll go with.
Oh, I'd love to. We've got a,
And I didn't bring mine, which is rare. Because, I've got some
when you leave here, you'll see it.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you. We live here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Oh, I still want to get probably. How's the 75? Yeah, sure. Might not be possible, but you can. I know, I like it.
Quite frankly, those guys. We can't be more restrictive. That's very frustrating for those of us.
Well, I wouldn't know.
My son.
Oh, okay, all right, well, that would be, after you tell me that. If I feel like. Yeah, I guess.
A few that I've heard. They're not in our.
Really think about it.
Yeah, I feel like we don't want to.
There's the understanding.
Our delegates from kind of our. But the new guys. And our Senate position. That would be two senators, two delegates. Kind of get them right now while they're, the one's transitioning out of our district.
Quite frankly,
It's a factory, but there is no contain, there's no containing factory on our environment.
So, yeah, I'd be happy to talk to your folks.
Right.
They probably still be frustrated. They still know what we can do.
That's the thing, we're always passing on
Don't want to
frustration.
feel like
I saw those pictures.
Just, hey,
And I would say,
we'll go
I
over
didn't
that.
realize it was behind that. Organization. I'm in. And I saw pictures.
Good, thank you. Well, we need to. I'm gonna be in touch with you.
my wife's an environmental.
Okay.
Individually, most people,
I think they are too.
are wanting to change
They don't even.
Okay, good.
Yes, the people that are wanting these things that are here, they're trying to.
I was looking for it the other day.
I'm not big crowding you.
You're fine. You got groceries, I think.
I know. Well, do you want some almonds? Are you sure? I want your blood sugar.
I actually, separate working.
Oh.
Those the almonds are, they go with everything.
Right.
You gotta miss some of those carries.
Yeah, okay, well, it's great to see you. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
So much. Yes. How
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, they so you don't want you to study, want you to leave.
He needs to give us those accounting schools.
Oh,
Yeah. That's quite a difference, isn't it?
We had a level. Last ones that worked with the council. The non-private, the whole different. Our office manager, they're like one of those chairs that's a wall.
Yeah.
It was fine for her, she liked it, but when she was like, step away from her desk or whatever, somebody else had to take the phone, you'd sit down and it's like.
yeah, I've said no a few times, but I'm not crazy about that.
I'm not a fan.
I have
Yeah.
sticking that in, but,
Okay, I don't mind that.
and that's, you know, it gives a little.
But I got an 8-year-old and a dog,
Oh,
it doesn't last.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
You gonna enjoy it? Are you gonna enjoy it? I'm actually going to vacation.
We're sure on.
My daughter's. When she gets green, you can just see her like crash. She gets green when she's
It's that
Oh,
double
yeah.
X chromosome.
It's, well, for her, it's just blood sugar.
But I was saying, I wish we could.
You see it coming.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We've always done it before.
If it's possible.
But we start to get that thing going on, and we just carry a handful of those.
They usually does it. It's not really a fast action.
No, but they land, they don't do that quick spike.
Right. Good deal. Thank you so much.
I'll put those things away. Nuts. I know.
Yeah. Okay, this time I'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. First order of business would be under new business. Resolution for the Virginia Smart Scale Project submissions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a resolution in support of Virginia Smart Scale Project submissions. Whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors recognizes the importance of prioritizing transportation projects for funding by the Commonwealth Transportation Board based on an objective and fair analysis applied statewide as set forth in the General Assembly's House Bill 2, effective as of July 1, 2014. And whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors recognizes the new transportation funding formula set forth in House Bill 1887 and approved by the Virginia General Assembly in February 2015, and the high priority program as defined in Statute 33.2-370 as the statewide competitive funding program, and the Highway Construction District grant programs as defined in Statute 33.2-371 as the Bristol District Competitive Funding Program. And whereas the Smart Scale, formerly known as HB2 project identified within Grayson County is the US 58 at State Road 622 Delhart Road Turn Lane Improvements Project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Grayson County Board of Supervisors hereby approves and supports Grayson County, Virginia's submission of the aforementioned project via the candidate project pre-application submission deadline of April 1, 2022, and a full application submission deadline of August 1, 2022. Furthermore, the Grayson County Board of Supervisors does encourage and implore the Commonwealth Transportation Board and the Virginia Department of Transportation to fund this project and supports any and all such efforts, except this 9th day of June 2022 in the county of Grayson, Virginia.
I make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second. Any discussion? Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Bill?
I also aye.
Thank you.
Next resolution, VDOT utilizing allocations to update cost estimates, all existing routes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a resolution for the Board of Supervisors of the County of Grayson, Virginia, and a regular meeting on the 9th day of June 2022 adopted the following. Whereas sections 33.2-358 and 33.2-331 of the 1950 Code of Virginia as amended provide the opportunity for each county to work with the Virginia Department of Transportation in developing a secondary 6-year road plan. And whereas this board had previously agreed to assist in the preparation of the plan in accordance with the Virginia Department of Transportation policies and procedures and participated in a public hearing on the proposed plan 2022/23 through 2027/28, as well as the construction priority list 2022/23 on May 12, 2022, after duly advertised so that all citizens of the county have the opportunity to participate in said hearing and to make comments and recommendations concerning the proposed plan and priority list. And whereas the Board of Supervisors of the County of Grayson, Virginia, known as the board, desires to use $1,061,394 of the current year's allocation to update the cost estimates for all existing routes on the secondary 6-year plan. And now therefore be it resolved, the board hereby approves utilizing $1,061,394 of this year's allocation to update cost estimates for all existing routes on the secondary 6-year plan, and request that the residency administrator for the Virginia Department of Transportation concur. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Virginia Department of Transportation Residency Administrator.
Any motion? So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Anderson? I also aye.
Thank you.
Next will be VDOT's secondary 6-year road plan resolution.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, resolution in support of Virginia Department of Transportation's secondary 6-year road plan. Whereas sections 33.1-23 and 33.1-23.4 of the 1950 Code of Virginia as amended provides the opportunity for each county to work with the Virginia Department of Transportation in developing a secondary 6-year road plan. Whereas this board had previously agreed to assist in the preparation of this plan in accordance with the Virginia Department of Transportation policies and procedures and participated in a public hearing on the proposed plan 2022/2023 through 2027/28, as well as the construction priority list 2022/2023 on May 12, 2022, after duly advertised so that all citizens of the county have the opportunity to participate in said hearing and to make comments and recommendations concerning the proposed plan and priority list. Whereas Andy Fowler, Whitfield Residency Administrator of the Virginia Department of Transportation, appeared before the board and recommended approval of the 6-year plan for secondary roads 2022/23 through 2027/28, and the construction priority list 2022/23 for Grayson County, Virginia. Now therefore be it resolved that since said plan appears to be in the best interest of the secondary road system in Grayson County and of the citizens residing on the secondary system, said secondary year plan 2022/23 through 2027/28 and construction priority list 2022/23 are hereby approved as presented at the public hearing, adopted this 9th day of June 2021 in Grayson County, Virginia.
Chair, you entertain the motion?
So,
Okay. All in favor, Ms. Harris?
Aye. Discussion, there is a typo in this resolution.
Okay.
Say, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
All side. Next is, resolution, Sheriff's Office vehicle grant.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, resolution of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Grayson, Virginia. The governing body of Grayson County consisting of 5 members in a duly called meeting held on the 9th day of June 2022, in which a quorum was present, resolved as follows. Be it hereby resolved that in order to facilitate obtaining financial assistance from the United States of America, the United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, known as the government, in the development of police vehicles to serve the community, the governing body does hereby adopt and abide by the covenants contained in the agreements, documents, and forms required by the government to be executed. Be it further resolved that William L. Shepley of Grayson County be authorized to execute on behalf of Grayson County the above referenced agreements and to execute such other documents, including but not limited to debt instruments and security instruments and or grant agreements as may be required in obtaining the said financial assistance. This resolution is hereby entered into the permanent minutes of the meetings of this board. Oh, it goes on the back and stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Chair, you entertain the motion? Mr. Hyde? Second. Mr. Fan? Discussion? Okay. Mr. Anderson? Aye. Mr. Fan?
Aye.
Mr. Hyde? Also aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which brings us to the county administrator's report, programs, projects, and updates. Oh, I'm sorry. My line was a little heavy on the mark out there. All right, board appointments. Appears there was Mr. Morton with the Virginia Carolina Water Authority.
Yes, and Mr. Morton's term expires on June 30th, 2022. He's indicated he's willing to serve for 1 year. His position is a 4-year term, so Ryan is checking on the bylaws. Ryan being.
He's with the Virginia Carolina Water Authority.
Okay. So we don't have an answer to that question yet.
Okay. So some table.
Or can we appoint him pending, that way
Continue.
he can continue if it turns out to be okay?
Sure.
If not, bring it back in July.
So he's wanting to just serve one more term, which would be 5 years.
No, he wants to, his 4-year term is ending on June 30th. And what he said is he's willing to serve for 1 more year. But the term in that particular spot is a 4-year term. So we're trying to figure out, can somebody say, I want to only serve 1 year and still occupy that 4-year term?
What's their role within this? What all are they involved in?
Mr. Smith is on that.
I was.
Can you?
All's on now. What was the role when you used to be?
Virginia Carolina Water Authority is actually, Grayson County sits on it, Allegheny County sits on it, but actually the town of Independence and the town of Sparta are the ones that benefit from the water from this area. That's the way the prison was supplying water. Independence had to do that to be able to supply prison with water.
So it'd be that little area across the river down below the campground, near the campground.
Yeah.
They're involved with that.
That's where the water authority is, and that's where the inflow is into the river. And all the filtration system that they've got set up there and all to bring water in. You add anything you want to.
I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I'd make a motion that we reappoint Chris Morton for 1 year pending, the water authority permission saying it's okay.
Okay, second, okay.
Discussion. Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Hudden? Mr. Bill? Also,
Thank you.
now, county administrator's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had some assistance from the organization we're part of called FIA. Had reached out on behalf of a small business here in Grayson County called Heart Moss Pottery, trying to help them to be able to attend a trade show of their choice to expand their current business lines and online sales, and we were able through that entity to help them access $10,000 to help them attend a trade show of their choice, again, to expand their current business and online sales. So that's something we're going to be reaching out to other small businesses in the community to see, is there money available? It's not money coming from the county, to be able to help our folks spread the word about what they sell and provide. And then the second thing I wanted to talk to you briefly about was, we have Mr. Jim Worth here from Tri-Area Community Health, and he provided us with a summary of what's been happening at the grant facility. So I'm just going to give you a couple statistics on it, and if you have questions, Mr. Worth is here, and I'm sure he could answer any further ones. But from May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2022, they saw 883 patients with 2,804 visits. And this includes nurse visits. In addition, 93 people have had 518 prescriptions delivered to them to be picked up at the site during the same time period. They're averaging 12 patients per day. Those are the statistics that stood out to me. Is it okay to ask Mr. Ward, is there anything you would like to add to that?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions. We just appreciate the opportunity to be out there, and it feels like we're making a difference. I hope that the people feel that way.
Did you say they were doing pharmacy stuff? Did you cover that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you for that. I got a question. What's the hours up there at that facility? Is it 9 to 5 or how's that?
It varies by day. We had to keep it to 40 hours for the week for workload, and we wanted to have a late evening on Mondays. So there's a couple half-hour shorter days in order to balance that out. But it totals 40 hours during the week.
So there's a few days it's 9 to 5 and a few half days. Not
for example, the
weekends.
first Monday might be, I don't know the hours memorized, but Monday is an extra hour. And so then we have to take a half hour off 2 other days to make it be 40 hours so that we don't have our staff work overtime. But it ends up to be 40 hours over the course of the week.
Thanks.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have a more comprehensive report on what's happening in the county after July. That's all I have for today.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Can we have several positions that are open, advertised or whatnot. Can we get an update on, are we
absolutely
close, like with IT maintenance?
We have just made an offer and it was accepted for the IT director. And his first name is Ernesto Ochoa, Ochoa. And we're really pleased to bring him on board. And he's going to start, July the 5th. Let me see, what else, what other positions do we have? Yeah, Renee Nestor's moved to a different position within the county, so her position is open, and we're about to start the interview processes for that position.
What's her day report?
Yeah, for day report. She does day report.
Okay. What, do we have a maintenance position posted or?
He had told us at first that he was going to be leaving in September, and he's pushed that a little bit further out. It looks like it's going to be December. And the other position, we filled the other position several months ago. So, so the position that would eventually come open would be the head of maintenance, and it would be on the retirement of Kenny that has been with us for quite some time. And again, he's saying right now that he thinks it'll be December.
Okay. And are we when we fill these positions, but we're in, of course, doing the budget, does that affect, are we bringing these folks in at the same level as the folks that went out, or is there?
When it comes to the IT, it's high, the salary is higher than it was previously. When it comes to Renee, we don't know. I think it's basically, it could be lower.
We use a formula that we worked up the salaries in, and experience is one of the things we look at, obviously.
But in that particular case, it could be lower, it could be higher. It just depends on the background of the person that's comes in. We've got a range that we've got on their scale.
Okay. That's all I had.
Sure.
No speakers. Okay. We have no speakers who have signed up to speak, and no one has notified me Board of Supervisors time. So at this point, look for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to Code Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
So moved.
Sorry. Okay. So, all right, all in favor? Okay. Be in closed session.
Yeah.
I'm a back. You want more almonds?
I'm trying to back lady.
Do you have almonds?
She's hanging out. Tell her no problem.
All right. I didn't get your answer back to you last night. Did you see the email?
I did. I saw that earlier today.
Okay.
Well.
Well.